Hi, everybody, and welcome to Storytime. How's everybody doing? As you can tell, today is pre-recorded, and that's all right. We have got some great stories today. What I've decided to do is because it is still March, and I think it's International Women's Month. It's celebrating women, and I wanted to take a story time to celebrate women of pride. And I'm going to be reading this out of this book, People of Pride. I've read several stories of historians out of here. So I figured, why don't we pick a couple other women and read and learn about them, right? Why not? I hope you all are remaining safe and you're social distancing, you're wearing your mask still and doing all that stuff. And hopefully we'll be getting back to some sort of normality real soon. We've been doing this a year. Can you believe this? A year online, live. And that's all right. You know, I read probably almost 100 books. So many books, so many stories, so many awesome things that we've learned. And all of my regular friends and my new friends every week join. And I'm just so grateful that you're all here. If you have any stories that you'd like me to read, please send me a message. Shoot us a message at Rose Dynasty or at mommaashleyrose. Check it out. Let's send me some stories. Maybe I've not read them. Maybe I've not heard of them. And I would love to check them out and see if we can get them and read. Right? So hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's go ahead and read a couple stories out of here. I think the first story we're going to start with today, got my little bookmark in here, is of our friend Brenda Howard. Has anybody ever heard of Brenda Howard? This is a cute little cartoon drawing of her, right? Brenda Howard was a polyamorous bisexual woman regarded fondly as the mother of modern pride, for organizing what may have been the first ever Pride event following the Stonewall Uprising. We've talked about that, right? With Marsha P. And the Stonewall Uprising that helped start Pride. Interesting. The Christopher Street Liberation Day March of 1970. That's a long time ago. Brenda worked tirelessly toward inclusion of bisexual, not just gay and lesbian, but everyone part of the LGBTQ plus community. As early as the 1970s, she started that work. That's a long time ago. Amazing. Her quest celebrated sober living as a lesser known community. So people that may not drink and do any sort of drugs, right? And they do sober living. Interesting. Recognizing the unique struggle of the bisexual community, Brenda co-founded the New York area bisexual network of organized the country's first Alcoholic Anonymous chapter dedicated especially to serving bisexual people. What a great thing. Alongside Robert A. Martin, Brenda is credited for popularizing the word pride for the LGBTQ plus community. I did not know that she helped coin that word pride. And we talk about that a lot these days, don't we? And bring a positive light to the LGBTQ plus community. She is heavily involved in the Gay Liberation Front as well as Gay Activism Alliance, which was called ACT UP, or in Queer Nation. Brenda Howard helped organize the country's first march on Washington in 1993. It was a vital part of the coalition and banned discrimination based on the New York City 1986. The next time someone asks you why LGBT pride marches exist or why Gay Pride Month is in June, tell them a bisexual woman named Brenda Howard thought it should be, by Tom Limoncelli. Look at that. I had no idea about that, right? No idea that in 1970, she is the one that, oh my goodness, Evie is just barking away today, isn't she? She's just going to continue doing that. That's all right. But Brenda Howard, what a great story. Did any of you know that? I didn't even know who she was until today. I was like, oh, she looks interesting. Let's read about her. Interesting. She coined the word pride, and she helped Alcoholic Anonymous come for the LGBTQ plus community. That is amazing. That's so much needed. And I'm reading I'm using my little bookmarks from my paperback exchange friends up in Newport Richey, Florida. So we're going to read next on Audrey Lord. Her little cartoon caricature there. She was born in 1934 and she passed away in 1989. Audrey Lord was a Black Caribbean-American activist who described herself as a lesbian feminist warrior poet. She is remembered as a woman who fought innumerable personal and political battles with her words, and she committed to raise awareness of issues of race, gender, and sexuality while fighting society's concept of categorizations. As a poet, Lord was committed to intersectionally and was committed to intersectionality, which means everything crossing together and coming together, right? She spent years traveling the country, lecturing on the issues that were most important to her. Audrey Lord critiqued the second wave of white feminism, insisting that racism, classism, sexism, and homophobia were linked by a collective lack of tolerance in education. In 1977, she became a poetry editor of the lesbian magazine called Chrysalis, which I'd never heard of. It was a magazine of women's culture, and in 1979, she featured speaker of the first National Gay and Lesbian March on Washington. Interesting. Okay. She co-founded Sisters in Support of Sisters in South Africa, which is CISA, and it was done in the late 1980s. She brought attention to Black women under racism. Audrey Lord was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1978, and she began a decade-long battle with the disease. Throughout her fight, she correlated experiences and resistance in her claim book, The Cancer Journals. Interesting. We should read that book. She retired in St. Croix, and there she took the name Gamda Adisa, meaning warrior. I think she was definitely a warrior. She who makes her meaning known. Interesting. In an African naming ceremony in 1992, right before her passing, or shortly before her passing. If white American feminists theory needs to not deal with the differences between us and resulting the differences of our oppression, then how do we deal with the fact that women who clean your houses and tend to your children while attending conferences and feminist theories are, for the most part, poor women of color? That makes a lot of sense. So she was born in 1934. So in the 70s and 80s, she not only did she fight cancer, but she fought for equal rights, even in feminism. Wow. To be an African-American woman, not only fighting cancer, but fighting for the rights of many other people and full inclusion. What an amazing story. Audrey Lord. See, not only is she a woman, but she's a Black woman that had brought change to so many people. I love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. We should definitely read more of her sometime. Also, our next story is about Catherine Lee Bates, and we're not talking about the actress. This Catherine Lee Bates was born in 1859 and died in 1922 or 1929. Okay. Let's learn about her and see what she did. She was born a poor family in Massachusetts. Catherine Lee Bates was set on attending the New Women's College, eventually became a board member of their second graduating class. 3 years later, she became the head of the English department and began a relationship with the professor, Catherine Coman, in 1890. Can you imagine in 1890, two women falling in love? I know it happened. Wow. They were together for 25 years until her death. Alongside her partner, Bates founded the College Settlements Association in 1887 to help young women female graduates assist the poor arriving in America. Wow. So in 1887, two lesbian women started an association to help poor people coming to America. What a concept, y'all. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. 1887. As a woman in the 1880s, Catherine published many of her poems under a pseudonym, James Lincoln. Wow. She was a prolific poet, but under a male's name. That's sad that she had to do that. In a poem in her book, Sunshine and Other Verses for Children, that was published in 1889, Bates introduced a character called Mrs. Claus to our popular culture. She introduced Mrs. Claus. Oh my gosh. She also in 1893 hiked to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado. That is a big. She hiked. I couldn't imagine hiking that high. Nope. Bates introduced the character Mrs. Claus. She wrote, "Oh, beautiful for spacious skies." Captioning in her notebook, "Oh, for beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple majesty, and above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace for thee." I'm in shock, y'all. I had no idea. Sorry. Wow. She wrote that song in 1893. She didn't publish it until 1895. The Congressionalists, oh my goodness. Wow. She did so much, y'all. She loved Plains in a Rose, and the world turned sweet. A rose. Oh my gosh, y'all. A rose. That is so beautiful. Did you all know that she wrote, "Oh, beautiful for spacious skies"? Yeah, I sing. I had no idea. A lesbian. That is amazing. I'm so grateful. I'm sorry, I get a little choked up about this. Like, I'm learning so much with this. Y'all, Catherine Lee Bates, 1859 to 1929. Oh my God, what a great story. And I have one more I'm going to read, y'all. I hope you're enjoying these stories. I'm going to read a story about Lucy Hicks Anderson. Lucy was born in 1886 and died in 1954. Look at Miss Lucy there in her pretty little purple hat. My friend Sherilyn Matthews probably would like that hat. I think she would. So Lucy Hicks Anderson was assigned male at birth, but insisted from a very young age that she was a girl. Her parents brought her to a physician and recommended to raise her that way. And they did. For over 10 years, she worked as a nanny. So let's talk about this. In 1886, so in the late 1880s, the doctor said they should raise her as a girl. That is what I'm talking about. The parents and the doctors so far ahead of their time. That's amazing. For over 10 years, she worked as a nanny and a chef, winning awards for her cooking. After saving enough money, she purchased her own boarding house and converted it into a brothel, speakeasy, during the Prohibition. Her cooking was so revered that she was arrested for selling liquor and promptly bailed out by a local banker who needed her to cater his party. She got arrested, and then the banker was like, "I need you to cater my party, so we need to get you out of jail." That's crazy. In 1945, an outbreak was said to have come from her establishment. Lucy was forcefully examined by a doctor who discovered her secret. It went public for information. Her marriage license was revoked. She was arrested for perjury and wearing women's clothes. That happened back then. Both Lucy and her husband were placed under a federal trial under the government. They were placed and insisted that someone could appear to be a sex but actually belonged to the other. She was given probation and an alternative prison, but arrested again. And she had been legally receiving an allotment check as the wife of the member of a U.S. Army. Oh. Upon her release, she was banned from wearing clothes and banned from the city of Oxnard, California. That is so sad. So her life started out so good that her parents and her doctor was approving of her being transgendered. And many, many, many years later, unfortunately, she was arrested and there was just so many problems. I defy any doctor that proved that I am not a woman. I have lived, dressed, acted just what I am. I am a woman. Lucy Hicks Anderson. Y'all, I would love to hear more about her too. I'm going to have to research her some more. Look at this. This is so great. We got to learn about 4 amazing, amazing women that had such an impact on our lives and our history. I suggest you continue to research that. Go back and learn more about history. Those that women that have changed the world, probably when people said they couldn't or shouldn't. Thank you all so much for joining Storytime. It's always a pleasure, always an excitement and an honor to do this with you all. I love you all. You are loved, accepted, and wanted, and we will see you next week. Everybody be safe. Bye, everybody.